Hey, Charlie.
Alrighty, it is 7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call to order the Thursday, June 4th, 2026 normal meeting of the Kalamazoo City Planning Commission. Can we get a roll call?
Yes, Chair Curtis. Audette Baumann?
Here.
Bissonette?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Duncan?
Here.
Kostriva?
Here.
Sandoval?
Here.
Tolber? Wilson?
Here.
Vias?
Here.
Wonderful. All right, we received an agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, could I get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on to the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting? Have any questions, comments, concerns on those? Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve those as well.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Communications and announcements. Got anything there, Bobby?
No communications or announcements.
Okay. Moving on to public hearings. Is that separate from action items? Should the public hearing be under public hearings, I guess is the question.
Good question. We always have a public hearing at every meeting for any comment. So we could hold public hearing there. I didn't catch I put it in front of the action item.
Okay.
The ordinance doesn't require a public hearing as part of the site plan review. However, I suppose if any public wanted to provide comment beforehand, it's probably placed well there.
Okay, so this is not officially a public hearing for this application?
That is correct. The site plan review
Perfect.
and your vote does not require a public hearing.
Great. Then let's go ahead and move right along to the discussion action item number 1, which is PC number 2026.05, site plan review for a new office building at 4755 Campus Drive in the WMU Business Technology and Research Park.
Chair Curtis, before I move on to that, I wanted to ask, did you want to hold a moment for public hearing?
No, because we got the public comment on non-agenda items later at the end.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I should have just scraped hearing and had we have comment below. Thank you. All right, I will get to work on the site plan. The image there is a photograph of the site. It's action item 2026.05, so our database that we met on last month continues to grow. It was very helpful to go back and read the BTR rezoning history. So I'm going to give a quick background on the request. Site plan review is a function in the Zoning Enabling Act, which is the state law that grants cities the ability to have zoning ordinances and planning commissions. Larger communities or some communities delegate that, which the city of Kalamazoo does to a site plan review committee. However, in the BTR zone district, which I will talk about, any site plan review on private property is required in all instances to be reviewed by the committee if it's delegated, and then at the meeting of the Planning Commission. So the request is for a new office building, and I'll get into the details there, for Owen Ames Kimball, which is a full-service engineering construction design company. There's still a couple of vacant lots in the BTR Park. I have to admit I never noticed this one. It's a more contemporary development, probably developed around the turn of the century now. It's a quasi-public-private extensions of Western's campus. Thinking of zoning and land use regulations, so Western Michigan is a state university. Universities aren't subject to local zoning, so the state of Michigan and Western kind of manage their own construction projects. You can kind of see that with the geology building under construction now by the building. However, there was a big incentive for a public-private relationship with this when the BTR Park was made, and I think that highlights within it, there's a BTR design group that they need to provide approval, and then through their own process, that approval has to be provided to the city in this group. And then alternatively, the city is also having the review publicly. So it sounds long and convoluted, but there was a basis for the decision. Both developments, as I said, require that approval. And the details of that, if you want to get into the dry ordinance language, 8.3H of the Appendix A zoning ordinance describes how that large administrative or planning commission review process works. But I'm also to use this is an opportunity to kind of describe the process for our newer members or people that do watch it. Because I'll start with this graphic, which I know is a little bit intense, but this is meant to describe exactly what I'm talking about. The one up top, any development usually once you get beyond a duplex, or I say if it's a multifamily, commercial, or mixed use, new or an expansion of a certain size, just figure site plan review. And it's a more technical review than just say if you're putting an addition on your house. So the city, every Wednesday, we have something called project review. It's a free meeting for 2 hours, or an open window, I should say. Anybody can meet to discuss any project. So that's a chance for that large lift for projects from marinas to maybe a 4-unit building mid-block. That same group of people are looking at it. And project review could even be, there's no size requirement. But nobody has to do that because most projects, as people know, there's time and people need to get things done. So there's a 2-meeting format. The zoning ordinance uses the language of sketch and full. The way we administer the process to keep it on task, if you will, last year our planner, Emily Szymanski, launched a new policy and revised our checklist. So it used to be you would review a simple plan, then the full site plan, where the process now is you review the checklist to a set of plans if you have it, and then you look for everything on the plan. So you're keeping the review to the technical aspect of it. And I have a couple references in there. You'll find, if you go to the conditions of approval for a site plan, it's a dizzying list. But I often say site plan review is like the bird flying over, not hyper detailed. But sometimes because of things like road changes, new water mains, sometimes it can get really technical. So yeah, there's the checklist meeting, and then you go into full site plan review, and then you have a meeting. These meetings are all held virtually, and the site plans on the site plan list is what the committee is doing. And as a reminder, a planning commissioner is always welcome to call and sit in on those if they like. And then for the BTR Park, it's the exact same thing, except it says the planning commission is the final approval on it. And it says after the committee meets to send their comments. Those are the comments that you guys have where this applicant has already gone to the checklist meeting, then provided the full site plan meeting, and always looking to make the timing work. This one worked really well where they were able to have that review and comments provided to you guys. And you can see there was not many significant changes needed. And I recognize, when I walk around, talk about plans in meetings, this is what most people hear. And it's, I think, it sounds scarier than it is, but I also, through the walkthrough, want to kind of highlight what it is and why. As I think this project is if you had a real simple way to explain site plan, office building on a large green space, we don't get many of those in Kalamazoo, so I'm gonna feel a little bit spoiled by this one. So here's the aerial of the site. We'll get down to the site plan out of the boring stuff there. Here is the current land use map. And I'm gonna go back to the aerial real quick. It kind of highlights that part of the city where it's definitely more rural. You have at the top there is the Asylum Lake Preserve. And you can see a little bit, kitty corner there is the BTR Park Phase 2. So it's on the edge of the city and it backs all the way up to 131. Here's the current land use. You can see some of the red for the Western-owned properties and the ones filled in that actually have a use, and some of those vacant lots in there currently. And very simply, the future land use map recognizes this is campus. Reading through the Western future land use plan and some of the BTR documents, it's really clear how this is first and foremost a secondary campus. So really highlights some of the requirements that pop up in here. Here are some photographs. There's another photograph looking at the site in full. You can see that greenfield nature. If you're able to see the building off in the corner there, I think that's personifies the standards, which you can kind of see when you drive through there. They're achieving the look, I would say. There's a look looking on campus back towards Parkview. Here is looking back towards the engineering building on Campus Drive. Both of those photos are on the front of the site. And there's just another photograph to the south where you can see the road and that intersection there. which is just a connector. Campus is just a big loop, doesn't go anywhere. Here is the site plan. This is the cover page. It's a site plan that the public can look on the city website. Anytime, once a project is scheduled for full site plan review, those are 3 to 4 week reviews, they're put up on the city's website. And there's even an email if somebody wants to provide any comment. And 2 things I'll highlight that if launched in the last year is on our GIS, you can see a layer of any recent or site plan under review. And we've started to post the approved plans for the last 2 years, because typically once things start to move out there, that's when most of the public questions come to our office. I'm not going to go into the full site plan. They did a fantastic job putting a lot of the regulatory requirements in there. Here is the site itself. You can just see they've got the elevation contours, what they're going to remove. They provided great elevation, all 4-sided details of the building. I think you can see the spirit of that building next door here. And I will stop here for a minute on this site. This is a good civil page, and it's got some tables down there which focus a lot to what is typically the planning and zoning review. Every site plan is reviewed by a planner in our office, the zoning administrator, the fire marshal, the building official, 3 civil engineers, 1 for sanitary and wastewater, 1 for stormwater, 1 for drinking water, and an environmental programs manager. When we have site plans in NFP or historic districts, the historic coordinator, NFP liaison, and anything in between. If you read in the ordinance, it says the committee can call on any professional of the city for feedback on something. So it's really meant to be that brain nexus of development. So that's the part of it beyond a planning commission or zoning, because typically when it goes to just a planning commission, the communities have an engineering review. Just a little example. So this site plan, like the planning commission, you guys, they have the setbacks on there. They provide a parking count. They show the stormwater layout, the size of the building, the impervious coverage. There are going to be changes required from what you see in front of you, but staff doesn't think there's going to be anything major which is going to trigger a variance, some other sort of approval. The teams already knows that they can make them. The more significant one identified in the staff report was the parking count. And this is one just in administration I find is a lot of people miss it. The city of Kalamazoo has a parking maximum. The table, I think it was just calculated as a minimum, so the plan has more parking than is permitted by our ordinance. The developer, the BTR guidelines give a range of parking, but when you dig into those details, it says parking, refer back to the local zoning. So we also have a situation where we have a lot of things approved under a parking minimum, but now when you come and build new, or maybe the mindset, not approved isn't the right word, so long story short, they're going to reduce it to an appropriate amount and make all the necessary changes. That was the only real significant item. There was identified the sign, the location, in the right-of-way, but staff has found, we think we found a solution for that because every single one of the monument signs have a very precise standard, and they're all in the right-of-way out there. So we believe we have a permitting solution for that. And so that has the questions, and when I finish the presentation, OAK has a short presentation as well, and I'll ask if there's questions on any of the review, the technical, save it for that part of it. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever on the plan or the technical details. And this slide here is meant to kind of show the site data is usually planning and zoning, we're zeroing in on that. But you have up in the upper left-hand there is the stormwater component of a review. The city has lots of local and federal and state requirements to make sure where that water goes. And there's elevation diagrams, calculations, and they provided all of that information there. The bottom left there is a diagram of different large trucks, such as buses, fire trucks, garbage trucks. And they work that over with the fire marshal so they're not just working off of a CAD file. The upper right is a lighting standard, so how do we know the lighting standards are met? They give us the full lighting plan out there. And then there's a couple of sheets at the bottom right there, your catch basins, all your utility lines, how do they build that? That's where those details are found to meet city standards before construction starts out there. And that's a very that's the part I personally know the least about, but there's a lot of very precise details needed on some more complex projects. And I will, and I have this slide available if we want to refer back to it. It's just a nice close-up there for anyone watching, or if we want to refer to the plan on any questions. So with that, I'm going to get the presentation ready that Owen Ames and Kimball has provided. And they are here with their applicant. Prine and Newhoff was the design firm that applied for this on behalf of them. So I will let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they're looking to do out there.
Great, thanks, Bobby.
Commissioners, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Aaron Kaiser, project manager with Owen Ames Kimball, and this is John Verplank, our engineering partner with Prine and Newhoff. So. A little bit of background, I won't read the whole thing, but Owen Ames Kimball has been around for a little over 130 years, started in Grand Rapids. Our Kalamazoo branch opened in 2013, so we started with just 2 people. We've grown to 12, and this building offers us some projected growth to move to more to 20 staff in the building, and that's not really even including some of our site staff. Just a couple projects in the area that we've been a part of. Currently working out at Kalamazoo College. Just wrapped up Kalamazoo Farmers Market. I believe there was a ribbon cutting for that not many months ago. And then First I'm going to get that word wrong, Congregational Church. It's a doozy. The purpose of our building is just to support continued growth by providing expanded project management and operational support for our staff in Southwest Michigan. We do have a branch in Grand Rapids, but the Kalamazoo branch is very committed to the Southwest Michigan area and the general Kalamazoo area. We're really excited about this building, and it does a lot for our continued presence in the area. So this will just represent kind of a long-term investment in Kalamazoo, and supports just continuing to do the work that we already do. You've already saw this. This is the cover page, and then I just offered this page if there's any questions. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the commissioners for applicant or city staff?
Just for context, just interested, wonderful. Are jobs being created as a result of this? Just a little context idea. Is this for existing staff and people in your?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay.
We have probably 12 office staff right now.
Okay.
And then we have, our superintendents, and OAK's philosophy is we really want the people working in those jobs to live in those communities as well. So we really try to keep, PMs, superintendents, support staff pretty local.
Right.
So I would say, our Kalamazoo office is involved in Southwest Michigan jobs, whether it be like Pawpaw Schools where we're at, or, I was just in Coloma today. I live in Gobles. Mm-hmm. So everyone's pretty local to that area. So to answer your question, we have 12 people now. With this office, we could support, we could bring on another 8 to 10 just right there in the office. So that's not including the superintendents.
Thanks.
Yep.
My question is more of a technical nature. So this parcel is classified as an industrial parcel next to a commercial parcel within the BTR Park. The future land use is all campus use. But does the current classification as an industrial parcel affect the site plan review process? And because it's next to a commercial and the rest of it is all falls under commercial zoning, what are some of the differences taken into account?
I'm going to give a little bit of a 2-part answer to that.
Okay.
Because you're referring
Yes.
to
Yep.
current land use.
Yes.
Oh, of course. The current land use is not, the visualization is not a zoning classification. Unfortunately, the city doesn't have a separate map of someone looking at every land use, but the state of Michigan has assessing classifications that are on every parcel. So what you're seeing is what the assessor classification is, which is more, and they often get mixed up with zoning, but I promise you it's the other side of the world. So what you're seeing is basically a visualization of assessor class. So what you do see, remember I mentioned the state-owned, the Western-owned properties, those are also exempt from taxes. So those you're seeing a private parcel, and then as a industrial platted park, like they just assume we're gonna call it industrial. So you could see commercial areas where it goes back and forth between industrial and commercial, but it won't reflect the zoning. So yeah, what you're seeing there is it's not a zoning classification. When they develop it, does the assessor classify a professional office as industrial? I don't know, but I'm sure they will once they're done, because the assessor's always the last guy on a site.
Thank you. I have a part two. It's probably not relevant here, but in the future, could you also include a natural features protection overlay on any parcels that we'll be looking at? I do know that there are, I want to say there are some overlays within the BTR Park.
You are correct, because there was a recent site plan brought before this board, and the preserve right there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. It's off on this, so
Yeah.
if it was on, it would have showed up. So I could definitely make sure let me go back to the zoning and just make sure we didn't, because sometimes it's on already. Nope, yeah, it's not, the NFP overlay is not on there. We'll make sure we get that on there.
Thank you.
So Bobby, the comments that we received from the site plan review, did they approve it under certain conditions, or is it still not officially approved until we approve it? I just don't know how to address, like you said, parking count as the perfect example. There are things that are going to change. If we give this the stamp of approval here today, is it automatically contingent upon those changes being made, or would we have to clarify that in our approval today?
I like this question too, because I think it's written ordinance versus practical application. Remember I mentioned that timing component? I know we have construction and design professionals. That is a very important factor, especially with costs rising, things like that. So on this one, could someone apply for full site plan review and at the end of that get approval? Yes. Is it rare? Yes. So to address that, instead of having the applicant be subject to a future meeting, and the ordinance will also say, once we get an application, put it on your next regular meeting. To address that component, I wrote, there's a recommendation in there, and I gave the recommendation says approval with the condition that the site plan review committee approve it. Because a little thing in that language of the ordinance is it says it's either approved or within so many days, the committee will write you deficiencies. That email there, the one sent to them was a little more technical, but that's saying, hey, you're not approved, send back with this. So through the condition, staff's suggesting, if the commission is trusting of the committee, to have the condition be approved by the site plan review committee. Or alternatively, you could ask that it be brought at the next meeting.
Perfect. Keep that in mind as we go ahead and make motions later and stuff. Any other questions for city staff or the applicant?
Yeah, so I was wondering about the parking situation. What was the number of parking spots at? What was it reduced to? And does that reduction affect the footprint of the concrete pour for the parking lot, or just the number of spots in the lot itself?
Yep, there's two parts. I haven't seen the revision. I'll give a high level how I look at it as a reviewer, and I'll let them explain how they plan on submitting that. I don't know that they've turned around those changes so quickly. So yeah, that's a great question, because yes, a parking count reduces the size of the parking, changes the parking count, changes the impervious surface, changes all those impervious calculations, changes the amount of stormwater they have to hold. So that's where those reviews have to be right and careful. So in this instance, that is something where, if it was identified earlier, we would have said, hey, maybe that's got to go to the ZBA instead. But if we catch it in the review, we want to keep it moving. We made them aware of it during the review and put it in the staff report. So the answer, yes, it would require that, but typically when an applicant returns it, those documents get updated, or our staff's pretty good at making sure there's a lot of document management to keep it together.
Okay, so it's not just a question of painting over a couple yellow lines?
Yeah, or it would be something more than something we hear a lot in ours. It'd be more than a note on a plan.
Okay, thank you.
And last thing I'll say is, I think there's many easy, feasibly ways to address that comment. I don't know if you guys want to say anything more to it.
Yeah, we already have a solution to the parking problem. There's these, oh, you can't see me, I can't point, but those spots up to the north, there's 10 of them. That's an easy cut for us. So that's already being worked on in the revision.
Great, thank you.
And for reference, the count, I think, is 42 on there, or no, it's 39 or 40, and 32 is the maximum, so. And they're going to reduce it to 30, so they'll still have, they're below what's allowed.
Maybe not so much a question as a comment, which I think I made last time we had one of these that was triggered purely by location in the park. I would be curious to know what it would take to remove the requirement that people come before us for approval simply because they're located within the park. It seems like a redundant step, because they would be required to come to us just like any other site plan if there was something rezoning or something. Our approval here seems, redundant to what the site plan committee does. And so again, I recognize it's part of an ordinance with a historical framework, but I would love to know what it would take to change that, because it doesn't seem like a necessary step anymore.
Well, we're in current conversations with Western now. You do find sometimes someone's got to find the person for it. I could start to look into that. Because I will remind the Planning Commission, I gave a presentation back in February on some ordinance amendments that are coming. One of them, Chapter 8. So I think this is a great review. And I think you highlight something, Michelle. When I read those minutes, something that really came through, there was a lot of positive comments in the City Commission record. And a lot of the comments were appreciation for both the administration of the city and Western for partnering, and a lot of, hey, we think we found balance here. But I think now here we are almost 30 years later, developments change, how we review developments change, costs, impacts, regulation, and even public, having it in a meeting would have felt more regulatory, but it's our design professionals on the board, the people know how complicated that gets. So I think it's a sensible idea, but of course it would have to be part and part with Western. And I wanted to highlight that history because, it was, the reason it was more public was a little different than I had anticipated. So I would have thought maybe the zone would have had contention with it, but there was a lot of public. People were happy to see the coordination between the entities.
That's great.
Good. Any other questions at this time? Okay, since this is just an action item and not a public hearing, should we do a public comment portion? I'm not seeing anybody climbing on the walls to get up here, but just in case, to cover our bases.
I have no problem, just because it's, we're going above the minimum, so.
Yeah, great. So then with that, let's go ahead and move to a public comment portion on this agenda item specifically. I'll go ahead and open the public comment. If anybody wants to come up and give their point of view, give your name and address, you have 3 minutes to speak. And same goes for online. You can call in at 888-382-9556, 888-382-9556. And we'll just give that a quick moment. Nothing online? Perfect. Seeing no one in person and no one online, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and go on to Planning Commissioner discussions. Again, we would take any sort of motion with a second, but it is city staff recommendation that we would include the condition of final approval by the Site Plan Review Committee.
If nobody has other comments, then I will move that we approve the site plan with the final approval of the full site plan being issued by the Site Plan Review Committee.
Support.
All right, now we can open for a little bit of discussion. Anybody have any thoughts, pros and cons? Questions, concerns? Like Michelle said, this is at best a procedural approval from the people who know more about the nitty-gritty than we do, but certainly happy to lend our support as well. Anybody else want to get in there before we vote?
Ready?
All right, pretty cut and dry. Let's go ahead and just do a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, that is approved with the conditions of final approval from the Site Plan Review Committee. Wonderful. Moving on to reports. City Planner's report.
I've only got one update, or one item for the report. On Monday, the City Commission, and Commissioner Pradel's here, I'm sure he'll mention, the City Commission approved the bid for the Kalamazoo Avenue work, so people are going to start to see Kalamazoo Avenue work start very soon out there on Kalamazoo Avenue. And I wanted to highlight at the June 15th Committee of the Whole of the City Commission, there's going to be a staff presentation highlighting how we're going to roll out the information, a lot of details piece by piece to really have a chance for the commission and the community to watch to see before everything takes off, the rerouting plan, all that stuff. So I wanted to highlight that. And last thing I'll say about it is the two-way conversion, that work, master plan amendment, new master plan coming forward in the coming months. That work ties back to the Imagine Kalamazoo plan. So where you see the vote for the construction all these years later, but kind of starts with an early community vision. So I wanted to highlight that nice bookend.
Great. And then anything of note on the site plan list?
Nope, I would wonder if we had it so updated that we had this one. And one last thing I'll say just about site plan review from, it's a very procedural process. It's procedural versus trying to build. Site plans, once they're approved, are permanent record included to the state of Michigan. So oftentimes, we know, oh, I need some road records, maybe the city has it in a drawer. The private sites, that's how you maintain what's going on through there, or kind of how the state builds the architecture. So going back to the site plans or all these private sites, it provides a good record going back. So just a reason why it tends to be so long and drawn out, I guess.
Okay. Great, thank you for that. Moving on to public comment on non-agenda items is what we were talking about earlier. Anything that is not on the current agenda, we will take public comment for. Again, go ahead and step up to the podium or call in 888-382-9556. We'll give that just a second. Nothing? All right. Go ahead and close public comment. Perfect. City Commission liaison comments. Commissioner Pradell, do you have something for us?
I'll thank Bobby for queuing up the two-way conversion, but I cannot express how big of a deal this is for the city of Kalamazoo. I was just trying to get a kind of a glimpse of how many commissioners there have been that have actually had some part of voting along this whole process to get to the two-way conversion. There have been 15 commissioners. It's been almost a 10-year process, and we are going to be breaking ground, initiating the work of this work that we've wanted to do in the city of Kalamazoo for decades, starting next month. So big, very big, and a big project. Also, it's going to require a lot of patience with the community, because even though we're going to be starting next month, it's a three-phase project. And so during construction, they're trying to break it into segments to make it a little bit more palatable for businesses and supporting downtown. But they will always have like one lane open for that. So get ready, folks, it's coming. Wearing my other hat, I'm a liaison to the Kalamazoo Parks and Rec Board, which is a lot of fun as well. There are a lot of exciting things coming up right now. So one of them I wanted to share is Burg Park. So Burg Park, we just allocated about $500,000 for some work. And we're going to have the first bicycling pump track in the city of Kalamazoo. Didn't know what one was myself, but basically what it is there are bumps with the concrete and curves. So you basically build momentum with your body on the bike, and you don't even have to pedal, and you just kind of like roll through the curves and everything. It's a lot of fun. So that is coming to Burg Park. A new kayak launch, a new pavilion, a new playground, And so all that work is happening right now as we speak at Burg Park, which is great timing with all the new housing across the street as well. Also, we all know that this is Jumpstart Weekend, which is a huge weekend for the city of Kalamazoo. If you look at Discover Kalamazoo's census of like the largest weekends for Kalamazoo, where you have the most outsiders coming to our community, it is this weekend. Pride Fest, the Art Fair, and the Doodah Parade all coming this weekend. This Wednesday, the kick pool opened up, so you can enjoy that through the first or second week in August. We also have Lunchtime Live starting a week from this Friday, which is very exciting. You can do those from 11:30 to 1 each day as well. And then also just want to remind people as well, in addition to kick pool, we have 2 splash pads that are relatively new, one at Florence Street, one at LaCrone, and we also have the Woods Lake Beach if people need to cool down as well. And last but not least, we have movie nights we offer in the parks, and we shake those up and move those around every summer as well. So we have one coming up in late June, we have one in July and one in August as well that'll be at Fray's, Spring Valley Park, and Oakwood Neighborhood Association this year. So anyways, a lot of exciting things going on in the city of Kalamazoo, and I just like scratched the surface of everything going on. So hope you all can partake in some of that and enjoy with yourselves or your families, and hope you have a great night. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Any planning commissioner comments, things you want to get out there, people should know about?
Our Commissioner Roland Bissonette has a new job, I think. Yeah, you should tell everybody what it is.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to put it on record, but starting Monday, I'm going to be the Community Disaster Program Manager for the Red Cross Southwest Michigan chapter.
Very nice.
I
Congratulations.
don't know when the last time any of you applied for a job was, but it's awful. So it's very exciting for me.
Wonderful, great.
Congratulations.
Anything else to get on record? Perfect. All right, with that, I believe we will come to an end. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Perfect. See ya. Chris. Take care. I figured it was my chance after all that we were just like that for 18 months. Here's what we do. Here's what it is. Yeah, and I thought it was just a simple project. So, and I don't know, I'm used to some of the smaller ones that are really, and I don't really feel like really just